And welcome back. Today we're talking about the Uganda elections. Here in Washington, we have Morrison Rwakakamba, Merit Scholar and Fellow at Harvard University and CEO Agency for Transformation, and Dr. Sulayman Nyang, a political analyst and a professor at Harvard University. Via Skype from Northwestern University is Moses Khisa, a columnist with the Uganda Observer and a PhD candidate at Northwestern University. Morrison, let me turn to you because you've been taking a lot of notes all through when Moses was talking, as well as when Shaka was hosting a little bit of this show in Uganda. What is your take? Because we had the debate, certainly an eye-opener for so many Ugandans. There were so many points raised: regional peace, stability. Where do we move from here? What's your take in all this?
I mean, it's very interesting, and it's great that I saw my friend Peter Kibazo back in Kampala. He's on the ground and has been following these things, and Ndugu Shaka over there. But I really want to say that this, comment about intimidation, all the time everybody's talking about intimidation. But actually, if you look at the supporters of all the candidates, whether it is President Museveni, whether it is Dr. Khisa or Mama Mbabazi or Abed Bwanika, supporters have been coming in droves, to their rallies. And when you look at the demeanor on their faces, you actually see people who are enjoying themselves, who are enjoying this democratic process, and who don't appear to be intimidated. So this facade of that people are enveloped in fear, that people are intimidated, is actually not true. And in any case, why I continue to say that NRM remains very strong is also based on science. We have had around 4 polls, since this electioneering process started in Uganda, that are so empirical, that are scientific, and they have all put the NRM and President Museveni, who is the candidate of NRM, above and on top of all these candidates. So I really don't understand what basis those who do believe that FDC or any other groups are going to win elections tomorrow. I really don't see the basis. Even in these convenience polls, whether it is on the social media that are not very well stratified, still put candidate Museveni ahead. So I really don't get, like I mentioned, the basis. I think Khisa makes this point about the Electoral Commission, and we all know that Electoral Commission, the Independent Electoral Commission, has been making reforms, has improved. Now you go online, you can check your name, you can check what Ugandans now call votability. You can be able to check your votability, your village, your polling station, your names, so you can go to the polling station, know that you are not disenfranchised, you are actually enfranchised, you're going to vote. Secondly, there are major reforms that conform to independence of an electoral commission. One of them is security of tenure of electoral commissioners. Apparently, much as the commissioners are appointed by the president and approved by the parliament, so meaning they are jointly appointed, the president cannot wake up and say, I am dismissing your commissioners, you don't have a job anymore. So that entrenches the independence of the Electoral Commission. So those who say that Uganda's Electoral Commission is not independent, they have not moved ahead to show the country or the world what constitutes an independent electoral commission.
Morrison, I'm sure Moses will be reacting to that, but let me get to Professor Nyang because I need some level-headed here kind of analysis. Professor Nyang, if you look at the presidential debate, the issues that were raised, and people saying it was an eye-opener in Uganda, do you think this will change their decision as to who they will vote for? Does that influence anyone's decision as to what happens tomorrow?
No, I think if the dice is fixed, of course the outcome is going to be very well known to those people who are playing the game. I will put 3 points with regard to the election tomorrow. Number one is the tenure of President Museveni. He has been there all these years. He has collected many IOUs, and many of the people who are running in opposition to him, he has IOU against them. But that's what is going to happen in the Gambia, for example, where the opposition people in the Gambia are they are watching what's happening in Uganda right now. If the opposition wins in Uganda, and they know what some people are saying, that the dice is not fixed, and that you see, even the president himself has not used all his power to intimidate, as some of the opposition people are saying. if he loses the election and he accepts defeat, like Abdou Diouf did in Senegal, many people thought that there were some Senegalese who died before that election, when he lost the election. Some people died before the election. The big question really is, what I'm hearing from Shaka and his colleague is that it was an eye-opener. This is political science 101 for how people can learn to engage one another peacefully. If the politicians are able to have a dialogue and they are willing to accept the results, that is the understanding. The opposition leaders, if they are defeated, they're not going to say anything. They just say, we try, but we lost. And if the government wins, that's going to be the case. If the opposition wins, and the big question is, this is the big question, if the president himself accepts defeat like Abdou Diouf did in Senegal, there were people who didn't want that to happen, but he accepted it. The big question is concession after the election. That's the big question for the Ugandans.
Absolutely. And Moses, I'm sure you would like to react to what Morrison has just talked about. The Electoral Commission is said to be independent. There are critics who say there's no independence, and usually sometimes, as we see, the incumbents do have some advantages when it comes to the elections. Also, President Museveni, this would be his 5th term. He's been at the helm for 30 years. What is your take on what Morrison has talked about here and what Shaka has been discussing down there in Uganda?
Sure. Esther, before I get to Morrison, just quickly on what Professor Nyang was saying, basically in an electoral democracy process, what is important is the credibility of the process. Has the election been conducted in accordance with the laws of the country? Have all the candidates adhered to the rules of the game? Is the body that is charged with managing the process competent, credible, and acceptable to all the players? Once that is sorted, the outcome is always neither here nor there. Whoever wins or loses, there is no questions to raise. You lose fairly and you win squarely. That's it. But let me come quickly to what Morrison was saying. You see, intimidation does not have to happen overtly, as Morrison would want people to believe. Intimidation can be subtle and covert, and that is what has been happening in Uganda. When a president says that he will not hand over power if he loses an election, what is that? It is intimidation at its highest level. He's basically, rendering the credibility of the whole process null and void, because what he's saying is that whether you vote me or you don't vote me doesn't matter. What matters is that I will not hand over power. About the issue of the Electoral Commission and the commissioners having a tenure, a security of tenure, that does not in and of itself make the commission independent. They may have the security of tenure, but nevertheless they are under the direction and the command of the incumbent party and the incumbent president. So all these problems are there, they are at play, and Morrison should face the issues squarely. I hope that he's talking about the same Uganda as I, because it looks like he's talking about a different Uganda from the one that I know.